Good morning, dear students. Welcome to the video lecture of Module 4, that is Virtual Memory Management of Operating System. Myself, Tejashwini Patwardhan, working as an Assistant Professor in the Department of CSC, VSM's SRKIT, Nippani. So, this will be the agenda or the contents of this particular video. So, today we will be looking after the virtual memory background. Then next we will be studying the concept of demand paging. Then later on copy on write technique, and later on we will be studying the page replacement techniques. There are three important page replacement techniques or algorithms, you can see. And next we will be studying the allocation of frames, means how the frames are allocated. And next and the last topic of this video we will be studying, that is the thrashing. So coming to the background of the virtual memory management. So as you all know that what is a process. So program which is under execution is nothing but it's called as a process. So when a particular program or a process needs to execute, either you can bring that particular process into the memory, or you can bring only a part of the program into the memory. So there are two ways: either you can bring the entire process into the memory, or you can bring only a part of the program into the memory. So what happens, like if you get the entire program into the memory, then it requires a lot of memory space, right? And it is not possible to execute more number of programs inside the memory simultaneously. So instead of bringing the entire program, what you can do is you can bring only a part of the memory, so that the memory will no longer be limited or constrained by the amount of physical memory available in the system. So physical memory is nothing but it's the main memory. So by doing this you can execute more number of processes simultaneously, and also the process requires very minimum amount of input output service, which makes the process run in a faster rate. So as you can observe in this particular diagram, so this is the virtual memory which is much larger than that of the physical memory. So virtual memory is nothing but it is virtually present, but physically it is not available. That is the concept of this virtual memory. So what happens in demand paging, we are going to divide the process into multiple pages, and these pages are brought from the secondary memory or the hard disk into the primary memory, or we can call it as a RAM, depending on the requirement or depending on the demand. So demand paging has got a benefit of this particular virtual memory, as it allows files and memory to be shared by two or more processes through the page sharing. So a single page can be shared by more than one process, and you should remember that this virtual memory is nothing but is the separation of the this logical memory from the physical memory, and the virtual memory will be much larger in size than that of the physical memory, as you can observe in this particular diagram. Now coming to the shared library using virtual memory. So the system libraries can be shared by several processes or program through mapping of the shared object. So this shared library is a particular page that can be shared by multiple processes through the shared pages. So as you can observe, there is a shared page, and this by making use of this shared page, shared library can be used by the multiple processes. So this virtual memory allows one process to create a region of memory that it can share with the another process. So this is one of the advantage of the virtual memory, and this shared pages can be shared with the multiple processes. Now coming to the next concept, that is the uh, demand paging, and this virtual memory is implemented using this demand paging strategies. So uh, we know that, like, in order to execute a program, we can bring the whole program into the memory, or uh, we can only get a part of the program into the memory. So if we bring the entire program, then it will be difficult to execute the multiple programs, and it mainly requires more memory. So alternative for this problem is, we can load the pages only when they are required, or we can say that whenever the demand comes, load the pages into the memory. So based on the requirement or the demand of the pages, we can load them into the main memory, and this technique is known as the demand paging. So the pages that are never accessed are never loaded into the physical memory. In simple words, you can say what demand paging means. So whenever the requirement or the demand comes, then only we have to load the particular page. Unless and until demand comes, you shouldn't be loading the pages into the physical memory. So the demand paging system is similar to that of the paging system with the swapping. So when we want to execute a process, we are going to swap it into the memory. So rather than swapping the entire program or a process into the memory, swap only those pages which are needed from the secondary memory to the primary memory. So as and when demand comes or the requirement comes, you can swap in and swap out the pages from the secondary memory to the primary memory, and the two functions of demand paging are swap in and swap out. And the benefits or the advantages of this demand paging is, you can bring page into the memory only when it is required, or only when it is needed, and very less input output service is required, and even utilization of memory is also less, and you faster response or the faster execution can happen. So now the, like, question comes, like, how to bring and move a particular page when a when a particular page is not present. You need to bring or fetch it from the secondary memory to the primary memory, and this is called as the page fault. So whenever that particular page is not present in the main memory, so we are trying to get that page from the hard disk into the memory, that is called as the page fault. So when an accessed page is not present in the main memory, then that particular page we are going to bring it from the secondary memory, or we can call it as a hard disk. So by bringing the required page into the memory, the swapping time and the amount of physical memory needed is decreased or reduced. So this is the advantage, and we need some sort of hardware to support and to distinguish between the pages that are in the memory and the pages that are on that are on the that are on the disk. So now the concept of valid and invalid comes. So what is this valid and invalid? So valid and invalid bit scheme can be used for this virtual memory purpose. So when the bit is set to valid, then the associated page is both legal and in memory. So when a bit is set to valid, or when it is set to valid, then we can say that the page is available in the memory and it is a legal page. In vice versa, if the bit is set to invalid, then we can say that the page is either not a valid, or it may be valid but is not currently available on the disk. So if you are trying to access the page which is marked as invalid, then it is going to cause a page fault. So as you can observe in this particular diagram, that logical memory has got multiple pages, that is ranging from A to H, and there is a page table where you can observe in this diagram where there is a valid and invalid bit field along with the frame number. So there is a page table, and this page table comprises of two fields, that is first field is the frame number and the second field represents the valid and invalid bit. V stands for valid and I stands for invalid bit. So uh, so from H represents that page A is valid and is present in the memory. So page numbers H, that is page number H is present 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 and it is valid and also it is available in the memory. It can be marked in the page table. So now coming to the next concept, which is a very important, that is the page fault. So if the page that is needed is not originally loaded into the memory, then a page fault trap will be generated by the operating system. So we know the definition of page fault, that whenever the page is not available in the memory, then we are going to bring it from the secondary memory and we are going to load it into the main memory, and this concept is nothing but a page fault. And when such pages are not loaded into the memory, then the operating system is going to generate a one trap that is called as a page fault trap. Now the question comes, how to handle the page fault whenever it occurs in our process. So there are there are steps in handling a page fault. So the first step, so this is the diagrammatic representation of handling of page fault. So the first step says that, like, if you want to load a particular page, then it will verify in the page table. Okay, and if the bit is invalid, then it will go to second step, that is a trap instruction will be given to the operating system indicating that the particular page not present is not present. And then the third step will occur, that is the operating system it is going to search in the secondary memory or in the backing store for that particular page. Then in fourth steps what happens is, it will bring that page into the available free frame of the physical memory. As you can observe, so there is a physical memory and it will bring that page into this available free frame into the physical memory. Now the fifth steps, what happens is, once it is brought into the frames, then it will reset the page table so that updation of valid and invalid can be done in the page table. So updation of valid and invalid bits will happen in the page table. And in the last step, once the page is set to valid bit, then it is going to restart the instruction. Okay, so whenever that particular page is set to valid, then the uh, then the then the instructions, it is going to restart it from the beginning. So these are the 6 important steps in handling the page fault, and diagrammatically it is represented in this way. So now coming to the next concept, that is the aspects of demand paging. So when a particular page is required in the main memory, uh, the hardware to support demand paging is same as that of the hardware for the swapping. so for the demand paging and the swapping, whatever the hardware is required is one and the same. And and there are two important uh, services or support of this demand paging. The first one is the page table. So this table has got the ability to mark an entry invalid through a valid and invalid bit, or you can say a special value of protection bit. So this page table, it is going to mark valid and invalid bit depending on the pages available or not in the memory. Now coming to the second one, that is the secondary memory. So this memory, it is going to hold those pages that are not present in the main memory. So whichever pages which are not present in the main memory, so this particular secondary memory, it is going to hold those pages. Now coming to the next concept, that is the instruction restart. So as I said that when a page is set to valid bit, then we are going to restart the instruction. So how this uh, restart of instruction is actually taking place? So this, whenever the page fault occurs, then only uh, restart of instruction is going to take place. So when a particular instruction is executing with respect to a particular page, then the page fault occurs. Then you have to restart the instruction. So as I said that whenever the page fault occurs, we have to restart the instruction. So crucial requirement for demand paging is the ability to restart any instruction after a page fault. So if the page fault occurs on the instruction fetch, then we can restart by fetching the instruction again. And if a page fault occurs while we are fetching an operand, we must fetch as well as we have to decode the instruction again and again, then the fetch again and again, then the fetch is then the operand is fetched. So let's consider an example. So let's consider a 3 address instruction ABC, and add those contents of AB, and whatever the result we are going to get, that is placed in the address C. So these are the steps to execute this instruction. So first we are going to fetch A, then we are going to fetch B, then we are going to add both A and B, and whatever the desired result we got, that will be stored in the instruction C. So we can call it as a worst example, because the restart will fetch the instruction again, decode it again fetch the two operands again, and then it is going to add again. So it again, whenever the one step fails, again it has to restart from the first step. So that's the reason we say that it is one of the worst example. So next concept is the copy on write. So this technique provides for the rapid process of creation and minimizes the number of pages that must be allocated in the newly created process. So this copy on write technique basically works by allowing the parent and child processes initially to share the same pages. These shared pages are marked as copy on write pages, which means that if either the process writes to a shared page, a copy of shared page is created. So if for instance you can take an example, so assume that the child process attempts to modify a page containing portion of the stack with the copy on write. Then what happens, the operating system will create a copy of this page and map it to the address space of the child process. And you can observe the two figures, that is before process 1 modifies page C and after process 1 modifies page page C. So let's take the first scenario, that is the before process 1 modifies page C. So here what happens is process 1 and process 2 shares the same pages which are present in the physical memory, and common pages will be shared by both the processes. Otherwise, instead copy on write, you need to create a separate pages in scenario 1. Whereas coming to the second scenario, that is after process 1 modifies page C. So process 1 wants to write or modify the content of the page C, then a separate copy will be created for the process 1, which indicates that a copy of page C will be accessed by the process 1, and page C will be accessed by process 2. So a copy of page C will be accessed by the process 1, whereas process 2 it is going to access page C. So the remaining pages, that is the page A and page B, will be common for both the process 1 and 2, but page C and copy of page C will be having different contents and will be shared by different process.